Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who is almost currently totally engulfed inside of a paranormal demon's snake-like form in his nightmare. It's John Levingood.
Oh my god, I feel like an egg on one of those Nature Channel shows where the snake gets to the bird's nests.
Yeah, and you're like you wrote the post for Movies, Films, and Flicks about the woman almost getting engulfed by...
I know, I feel like a 9-year-old girl in The Taking of Deborah Logan.
So I gotta say, first and foremost, thank you for going through with this episode despite battling a giant paranormal demon. I mean, this shows your dedication to the Movies, Films, and Flicks podcast.
I still have the scraping tooth marks on my abdomen. He's actually still at my ankles. We're still fighting.
You're just kicking him
It's like
off?
when you watch... You know the old nature shows when they show the alligator and the anaconda, and then they cut and they're like, this is 30 minutes later. And they're still wearing each other out like a WrestleMania of just two people who can barely stand and throw their fake punches anymore. So the Freddy snake is still at my ankles right now. He's half passed out, but whenever I try and pull my legs away, he chomps back down on my ankles. And then I kick him in his uvula, and then he kind of loosens his grip a little bit. But we're just kind of trapped in this stalemate right now.
You guys are becoming friends.
I wish that I didn't change my socks after the gym, because then I would have been free by now.
I was going to say, have you ever had a pair of high socks on and you lazily try to take them off? Like one pair of socks and you try to take, you have your no sock on your left foot, a sock still on your right foot, a big one, and you try to take it off with your foot. It gets ugly.
You have to hook it with your big toe.
Yeah,
if you don't hook it at your calf with your big toe, all is lost and it's going to go horribly wrong.
And if you're not into it, it's going to go bad. So is it one of those type things?
You need to commit to a good grip. Well, the problem is that he already committed to a good grip, and my A game wasn't on. I'm like, I'm too big for him to swallow. But I forgot my nature shows. It's like, oh, right, he's going to unhinge. He somehow got my plus-sized ass in his mouth.
I mean, Debbie Logan, man. Think Debbie Logan.
Debbie Logan, she had some serious unhinging. She had a lower jaw like the Predator screaming in a thrash metal band.
Wow.
How's that for a visual?
I love that. And I gotta say, John, Debbie Logan started getting popular on streaming platforms, I believe Shudder and Netflix. But years before that happened, you were all over it.
Right, well, I'm not going to take any credit. I think that people just discovered an unexpectedly good movie.
I think, but we're not doing like hipsters. Yeah, I was there first. Right. But you were all over Debbie Logan.
I mean, I might have given it that 1% nudge. Yeah, I hope some listenership get to. One day that should probably be something that we pod about a year or two from now. It came out in 2014. Once it's been out for 7, 8, 9 years, and we have a new crop of listeners who have never even heard of this movie, that's when we got to tackle Debbie Logan, the snake-eating, demon-possessed woman.
I like it.
I mean, that's right. The egg-swallowing, snake demon-possessed woman.
Jeez Louise. And just don't wear socks. Oh, wear socks.
I'm gonna go for a small hike in Turkey Oak Scrub here in Florida. Get lots of sand spurs on my socks and leave them on for when she comes. Yeah, sand spurs.
If I was in the crowd watching that fight between you and Worm Snake Freddy, I know that Freddy is a horrible murderer who keeps child souls in his belly and becomes stronger. But if you sandspurred him, I'd be like, that's cheating.
That's cheating? With all the shenanigans he pulls?
Listen, when you're from Florida, you get one sandspur, and somehow out of nowhere you get 40. I don't know how it happens. And then you're taking them off, they get stuck on you. It's a nightmare.
Do you think that Freddy, would never invade the dreams of people in Florida because of the unexpected Florida problems? Oh, what's with all these gators? He'd be all mad.
Bugs.
These mosquitoes are deadly. That's not a good Freddy voice. But just all the things that, and then he'd bump into a Florida man, and he'd be like, "Whose nightmare is this?"
Bath salts.
Right, exactly. Like some dude under a bridge.
And then one night, if you've seen the movie Spring Breakers, he's hanging out with Alien, just driving around looking depressed. Alien's just like, St. Pete. That's where we're from, so we can say this. And Freddy's just looking really depressed. We both went to school. I just want to preface this. I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Hudson, Florida. I met John in St. Petersburg. John went to UF. He got all of his, you got your, bachelor's and master's there. I went to Florida State. My brother went to UF. I have family that so we're from Florida, so we can make fun of it, right?
Right, yeah. It's not like we're two dudes from Michigan saying Florida sucks. We love Florida.
Yeah. I mean, you currently live in Florida. You love Florida.
I live just outside of Tampa.
That's right. Now, I gotta tell you something about this movie, John. I had watched this back in the day, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warrior. It had been so long that I was confusing it with 4. I kind of had forgotten about it. I mixed up some of the kills that were in some of the films, but watching it again as much older, we're probably talking 17 years. This movie hits a lot harder now that I'm older, and I appreciate it a lot more. And when I was sometimes I write articles about, I wrote an article for Rotten Tomatoes about the best horror sequels. And in that, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 kept coming up. I mean, this movie is 74% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's 6.6 on IMDb. It's the third highest on Rotten Tomatoes behind Nightmare on Elm Street, A New Nightmare. And it's number 2 on IMDb, just behind the first, the classic. So this one's considered the top 2-3 of the franchise. And it hits pretty hard, knowing how cruel Freddy is in this. And how these kids, none of these kids are bad kids. They're in these institutions because of Freddy or past addictions. These are troubled kids who aren't that bad, and they are killed horribly by a horrible man. And I know that this is when a lot of the one-liners of Freddy started kicking off, but even his one-liners in this movie are mean. They're not cute. They're mean.
They're mean, but they're not. And I know he uses the word bitch a lot, and that gets Freddy a deserved bad rap, especially today, right? When he uses it, I don't know, in this particular Nightmare on Elm Street movie, it feels the least gratuitous. It feels the most grounded in what I will call the natural, credible, inherent meanness of the character. Whereas in the sequels, in either direction, earlier or later, he seems to just throw it in because it seems, let's write that because it's some sassy, evil thing that Freddy would say.
You're eating some granola, bitch.
Right. Right. It would just be thrown in, or it would feel more like deliberate misogyny than deliberate hatefulness. And in this, Freddy's hating his fare, even though he loves hunting his fare. So I was writing something up about this, and there's actually, I wrote a little blip that actually really touches on this before we get into specific discussions of Freddy. Would you afford me probably 60 seconds, Mark?
John, how many rants have you afforded me?
Well, but we go on a lot of rants just on the fly. I'm politely asking for this one. Teacup risen and pinky up.
That's totally fine, bitch.
All right. So, I mean, we were already touching on this, but like, what so distinctly separates Dream Warriors from its predecessors is how, I'll use the term socially brutal it is. Like, trigger warnings abound as Freddy is assaulting our moral sensibilities regarding rape, mental illness, drug addiction, bullying the handicapped with their handicap, general misogyny, sexuality, and suicide. But unlike most horror, including the other Noe's films, this brutal, unapologetic meanness feels oddly appropriately grounded in its execution. It doesn't feel like it's taking its own content lightly. That actually comes from a conversation Mark and I were having earlier this week. It doesn't play it as much for gags as we would see in the franchise installments both earlier and later in the franchise. But rather, when Freddy kills a victim using her own addiction against her, he seems to become pleasurably high. And that could seem like the crass and sensitive, mean for the sake of mean thing to write if you're writing a movie like this. But in fact, he doesn't seem to make gag of it. He is literally getting high in his fantasy while corrupting hers. And that's what gives him his power. It's almost like when we see the steam taken from the greatest suffering of children in Dr. Sleep. It doesn't mock. This boogeyman simply exploits the weaknesses he finds ferreting out your darkest dreams, and that is where he finds his greatest power.
Wow. No, I 100% agree with you. And the scene
and
where...
most of that's from us. Half of that's just from us, rapping about this.
And I do want us to know when we were talking about this, there was a lot more ums and ahs. And you know what I mean? And is that right? And is that good? Does that make sense? But I do... John, maybe you can help me find a way to make this more eloquent. I'm a big fan of Korean horror/thrillers, such as I Saw the Devil, or Oh man, I just had another one in my head that I just totally forgot. I mean,
Tale of Two Sisters.
Yeah, Tale of Old Boy. Let's see. Man, I can't believe I forgot one. I'll come back with it later. But some of these films, they just go to such dark and mean places. But they go there. They're not doing this for laughs. They're not making the violence pretty. They're not making the violence. They are just taking you through hell. Oh, Thirst, the vampire film. They're just taking you through.
Yes.
They're taking you through journeys to really hurt you. And they're executed really well. The violence is not easy. It is bloody, it's quick, and for some reason with those films, and maybe I don't know if this is weird or not, but then I'll watch other movies that just glorify death, or they treat it as something that's very blasé. I was watching a show on a network show about spies on one of the TV. It's been canceled, but there's a scene where this guy had this relationship with this woman, and it turns out that she's a double agent. Our hero of this movie walks up, shoots her right in the heart, and then makes a joke and walks away, and that offended me.
It's crass.
Yeah,
it's crass.
I just thought to myself, okay, this is network television. Millions of people are watching this, and a man just murdered a woman that double-crossed him, whatever, and he laughed about it. And it treats death like it's not important. With some of these films, like, you watch these movies, and then with this one, I mean, these are kids who rally around each other and attempt to put their lives on the line to stop this creature. And what they get in return are just brutal deaths. And I guess the scene with Taryn, and I was looking through some lists because I was curious, John, about the best kills in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And every list has 3 or 4 of the kills from this movie. So
3 or 4?
Yeah, of the top 10 of the whole Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And also, the best characters, there's always 3 or 4 from this film in the top 10.
Yeah, they're hands down the best in this one, I'd say, other than part 1 just with Nancy.
And like the brutal part with Taryn, and you've seen this movie if you guys have watched this, but she finally gets her confidence back. She's dressed up as this knife fighter in an alley. Have a nice knife fight in an alley, which I enjoy. And she actually stabs Freddy, and she gets the upper hand, and she feels confident. So when he uses his needles as fingers, that's just a cruel, cruel fate. Like, she thought that she was finally sticking up for herself, when in turn, Freddy had her the whole time. And that's dark. And if they would have played it with him chasing around with fingers, gonna get you high, gonna get you high. You know, like Freddy going, oh, I'm gonna get you, like, oh, like, here's some coke. Like, that would have been really insulting. But the way he treated it and the helplessness of it and her death after she got break, like, that, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but that's something that hits. And I think that's a reason why it's considered to be one of the best horror sequels today. Because it doesn't treat death lightly, there's likable characters, and the villain is reliably mean.
Well,
and I like that.
I think that you took a good path with this, starting with the Korean films and relating to what I'll call the cheapness of this scene you recollected from a TV show, right, on network television. Because on network television, yeah, they might have just been writing crassly, here's the cheap, easy way to get to this, and I want to show he's so evil by making him joke about it, and it's very simple. We're not going to give his backstory. We're not going to show why the Joker became the Joker and why he's so twisted. But sometimes to explore that is too much, and you have to fully explain it in order to explain it. You can't give pieces for people to swallow that pill and accept that story. I'm not defending that show for this reason. That might have just been cheap writing. But it's hard to fully go on this journey. It's hard to explore, like in this movie, it's hard to explore notions of the rape of Freddy's mother and how that could have affected his upbringing. Was Freddy already critically disturbed and mentally ill because his mother was inseminated by an incredibly disturbed person? And was he almost inherently, I don't know, air quotes, evil or just disturbed and needed help because of that? Or is it something where the nurture was never there? And I'm going to start a thought process. I don't want to finish because I'm going to do what I think television shows, don't want to do. But, does the mother resent the child? Does the child remind her of punishment? Does the child not get nurtured? Is she cold to him, etc.? And I could go on about this for an hour. And so you got to wonder, and this can happen in a perfectly healthy family and something just happens. But I'm just saying, like, it's hard you can't explain in 2 sentences this. you need to properly illustrate this, and you can't do that in a show. So the show took the cheap path. Instead of just not having him say anything, and you believe almost more the Mike Myers path of this is just a cold killer. But no, they wanted him to be maniacal. They wanted the Joker, if you will, but they couldn't explain their Joker. In this movie, even though they did it briefly, they explained why the Joker is the Joker. They just only spent about 15 seconds of dialogue doing it. But the few things they told us can put us down a deep rabbit hole of psychological revelation. So these Korean films you're referencing.
Man, imagine if I made those, John.
Right. But honestly, normally you're turning me to them anyway.
Yeah.
So between the two of us, it's your films that you're turning to me. They are exploring them. They are explaining it to us, and they aren't doing it gratuitously, even if it's violent or brutal or visceral or if there's sexuality to it. They're telling the deepest, darkest truth that led to this malevolence. They are giving reverence that is deserved to the horrors that create these evils. And I think that in a much more subtle way, that's what this installment in the franchise does that basically all the others don't. And I'm not trying to poo-poo part one. Part one I think is fantastic. It's a wonderful film. But here we are expanding on that mythology, but in doing so, we're expanding this rabbit hole of discussion that for some reason, by the way, I feel like I've never read about in any reviews or explorations of part three. People just bring up, oh gosh, the horror, Son of a Thousand Maniacs, the product of rape in a mental institution. And so they don't take it lightly, like you said, and a lot of movies would. You know, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a Wrong Turn sequel would. The Wrong Turn sequels are a good example. I love them. They're entertaining nonsense, but they take the cheapest path possible to get to their story, psychological or horror punchlines. And in this, as ridiculous as this movie might seem overall, in a world of film discussion, it's very grounded with respect to this. And like you said, you had kind of jumbled the movies together a little bit. I actually didn't. And yet at the same time, I kept seeing this as I saw it as a youth. I kept seeing it for its fun. I wasn't reading between the lines. I watched it casually. Now that I've paid close attention, it's very harrowing at the same time as being kind of, you know, a goofy horror at times. Yeah. So there's my rant. But yeah, this is a very special sequel. And I posted a lot on Facebook about this. Actually, when I was comparing Return of the Living Dead 3 to its part 1, to Noe's 3 to its part 1. And of course, instead of saying, oh yeah, Return of the Living Dead 3 really is a great sequel just like part 3, instead people totally mistook what I wrote and jumped to the defense saying, oh, I would never put Return of the Living Dead 3 in the same ballpark as Noe's 3. And a lot of people are saying how they favor it to the original.
Yeah, and I don't know if you watched it, but the Never Sleep Alone documentary on Shudder, they said that like at conventions and a lot of different shows that many people considered Dream Warriors to be their favorite nightmare. And I think partially because if you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, just the idea was classic. I mean, the blood explosion, the rotating room, just the first time you see Freddy with his arms. I mean, that's one of the films I drove 2 hours to go see on a big screen when I was addicted to film.
Arguably the most effective fighting back of a final girl in history to that point.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, Nancy, she's awesome. And also, but I think the characters were just the stock high school. I mean, Nancy's great, but I'm just saying they followed a template of high school characters. You had Halloween, Friday the 13th, this. But then this one, which, you know, I know that Wes Craven wrote the original script, but then Chuck Russell and Frank Darabont, who did Shawshank Redemption and The Mist, came in and did a rewrite on this. And I guess what they came up with was, if you think about it too, these characters in this, for lack of a better word, I'm just going to say mental institution or lack of a better word. I don't even know. Like, I can't even think of it.
In the movie, the sign just said psychiatric hospital.
Yeah, psychiatric hospital. There we go. Psychiatric hospital. Thanks for that. So they, I don't know, none of these kids are unlikable. Normally you have the kids that are super unlikable. You have the horny jock, the token laughs, the scream, like, but in this one, the kids, so when the marionette death with Philip, all the kids rally together to try to save him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes this movie effective. And maybe for a lot of people who maybe felt like they were outsiders, or, you know, adults don't listen to the kids in this movie. They just don't listen to them. So I think these characters are maybe what endears them. I mean, you have the Wizard Master, Will, who's just so dorky and earnest, and he can walk, and he finally uses magic against the violent wheelchair. And I don't know, I dug it. And also I thought the introduction of Kristen's character as the heroine, I guess final girl, but she wasn't really a final girl because 4 people lived in this. No, 3 people. But what
was like the leader.
Yeah. And what I liked about Kristen, in the first time we meet her, she gets sucked into a dream of Freddy's. And she finds a kid, and her first thought is to rescue the kid. She picks up a kid and just starts running with the child. She knows that it's a weird world. She knows that something crazy is going on. And Kristen's first thought is to save a child. It's a really neat way to establish our antagonist in regards to that character. And I think it's little choices like that endear you with them for the rest of the film.
Yeah, and in this one, you were saying like they really work together. In the first one, Nancy just gets someone to believe her, and so Johnny Depp's character tries to help her, but he's not so committed. Even if he believes her, he's not working with her, you know? And in the second movie, you eventually convince your kind of girlfriend that something weird is going on, but again, she's not... There's kind of a love will defeat all in the end of that, but that was just because she loved him, not because they were working together to defeat Freddy.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like one of those movies where someone's possessed and you're like, I know you're in there, you know, fight it kind of thing. And then they fight it and they get out. That's not really working together in the same way. These kids were truly relating to each other, and they were doing it in ways that we can think back and relate to. And you said all the characters are likable. Kincaid, he's the asshole. He's always being an asshole. But the thing is that he's being an asshole in that insecure way that we all knew. Whether or not it was, you know, the listeners out there or you or me. Well, it was you and me, right? Yeah. The insecure asshole at time, right? But like we know where that's coming from. It's not just someone who's being an asshole, which is usually your stock character. We see that he's insecure. We see that he's scared, and we see how much he cares about his friends to whom he's assholey.
And he's all of them have lack of sleep. No one believes them. The doctors don't believe them. So you have this guy who has, like you said, that insecurity. He's just that age, and he also hasn't slept much, and then no one believes him. Anybody in there, that's a recipe for disaster in there. Normally, so one of my favorite movies is The Descent, horror movies ever. And I love that movie, but you do have the Juno effect in there, where she and the other one kind of have they don't really get along. She turned on her. You have that kind of drama in there. And I still love that movie, but it's just fun watching a movie where there isn't that drama in here with the kids. It's refreshing.
Right. And there's nothing adversarial.
Yeah, right? When does that happen much in horror, where you have a group of teenagers or 20-somethings, and none of them are adversarial?
Well, and I don't want to make this statement sound like in even 1% I'm looking down at The Descent, but I think it's easier to add that adversary.
Yeah. Oh no, I love Descent. I think it's a marvel of production design.
They did a glowing job of doing that right. But in general, adding that adversarial nature among your otherwise protagonists, I feel like that's an easy way to try and throw off or keep your audience, on their toes. And so to not do that and to write these wholesome characters and keep it together, I think that's probably harder.
And also, I got to say, I love The Descent, but Juno picks that cave system because she knows what she's done and she wants to make up for it and go on an adventure. She's trying too hard. So they make bad decisions and then they're stuck, right? And that's a big trope of this. But in this movie, it's kids who are terrorized by Freddy Krueger and locked up in a psychiatric hospital. And then they work together. It's it's neat.
The greatest adversary is the common trend in 80s horror and in the Noise films, which does a great job of it, is that the adversary usually is not just Freddy, but adults, the parents, the police, whatever it is. No one believes you. And in this, I can't think of the puppeteer's character. He dies very early. So is his name Taylor? What is it?
Philip.
So when they're doing the group meeting where they're first meeting Nancy, and this is 6 years after the first Noise film, and this is not regarding the second one at all. Wes Craven even refers to, if we're going to do a sequel, talking about part 3, this is how we need to do it. He's not even acknowledging that part 2 exists, it seems, deliberately.
Yeah, they left it out completely.
To an audience. He even brings up, Philip says, so Nancy, it's 6 years later. Nancy is now, I think, wrapping up grad school. She's doing an internship in psychology.
And she's back.
Here. She's back. And it's great that she's back, too. They did a great job with that. But so they're all being introduced to her, and and Philip brings up, like, you know, it's interesting to me that we put in maximum effort and get minimal results because we're all having the same dream about the same man that's discounted as mass hysteria, but no one seems impressed by the fact that we all said the same things about what we were dreaming before we even got here and met each other. And so that's kind of like the acme of the adversarial ignorance of the adults, that it's one thing to call mass hysteria. It's another thing when everyone separately is telling the same story before they've ever met. And yet, you know, the head clinician there just discounts it. Just says, oh, this is just your repressed fears and guilt and sexuality that you're dreaming about. But they're all having it. And that was really well put together, too. You know, in the other Freddy movies, everyone's having the same dream. And then they just, all of a sudden, you just see them sitting there talking. Oh, wow, we're all having the same dream. We got to get this guy. There's like no transition of the journey that you take to understand or find credibility to this. There's no denial. These kids have been forced to face it. You know, where most characters wouldn't be in that situation. They're forced to face it in front of each other. And they're forced to learn what each other was seeing. You know, they're forced to recognize it. It's, again, but the adult adversary is so there when we first meet Kristen's mother. She's coming home at 1 or so in the morning.
Where's
She's
the
got
bourbon?
a man there.
Where's
right?
the
I mean,
bourbon?
and whatever. I had a single mom. I've lived this life.
Yep.
But, you know, it's just the way that she was presented. The mother was nothing but like neutral to antagonistic to unpleasant to her daughter in that whole thing. And the interesting irony is that when she later dreams about it, when Freddy is trying to fool her late in the movie in the third act, the mother comes in, they replay that scene, but the mother is neutral to pleasant, neutral to understanding. There's actually a few smiles, subtle smiles, like, honey, you got to go to bed. And so, like, Freddy is giving the illusion of this thing that she wants and not just capitalizing on her horrors in this case. Whereas normally it's just the worst of the worst. Normally the parents are always depicted as bad. In this case, the parents only good in Freddy's nightmare. I mean, what a way to capitalize on that.
And Saxon too, he comes back. Oh, I know it's not Don Saxon. It's Lieutenant Thompson comes back. Mm-hmm. And that's how he gets
now just working as a security guard.
And now he gets Nancy with a nice dad moment, a sappy dad moment. I mean, he plays mean in this. He wants you to get your hopes up, and then he just wipes you out. I mean, look at what happened to Will. Will blows up the wheelchair, and he just kills him easily. He gives you hope in this, and he takes it away. I mean, the guy is not. And also, one more thing I want to touch on. You have the doctor. So it's Dr. Elizabeth Sims. She doesn't listen to the kids, clearly. However, at the end, when she realizes that Dr. Neil Gordon has given them these tripping drugs, and that 2 of them have committed suicide and another one's in a coma, you got to get out of here, man. You're fired. I mean, even the head of the hospital, when he tells Gordon, hey man, like 2 people have committed suicide and now we have a dude in a coma because you gave him these drugs. I think it's
in 4 days.
Yeah.
In 4 days. 2 kids died and one's in a coma.
I think it's time you walked, right? I think we enjoyed working with you, but yeah, you gotta get out of here. I dug, and also the orderlies were cool. Well, no, there's one jerk orderly. I didn't like him, the stock jerk orderly, but I mean Larry Fishburne was cool in this movie, so I liked him in that. Max. It's kind of neat that I keep repeating myself over and over and over and over, but I just like the lack of what you normally think is going to be in one of these flicks. So I dig it.
It's funny, too, especially today, you know, you see Lawrence Fishburne in this, a movie about the adult's disbelief in the dreams that are, in fact, a reality for people. And then, 15 years later, he's trying to get someone else to choose the blue pill.
To wake up, man.
Right.
Oh, that's funny. Wow. That's a good point, man.
It's random thoughts that cross your mind watching a movie, right? But
I do think though that I mean, they went a really smart way with this film. I know the second one was still successful, but they wanted to go another direction. And I think also too is, I don't know if you got this vibe while watching the movie, but while watching this, the locations are very minimal. You're basically filming. You have a house. You have what, Kristen's house. Then you have the hospital. Then you have the sets for Freddy and a cemetery, mostly, and a bar.
And most of the scenes in the old 1428 Elm Street house. In the beginning, and Mark, I swear, I only catch this stuff because I've heard you talk about it so many times. I never would have noticed this. When she runs down the hall with that child, and then she turns a corner and she's running down another hall, like the other half of the L of this L-shaped hallway, I'm noticing what the walls look like, how barren they are, how simply placed a lot of things were just on the floor leaning against the wall, how basic this hallway is. When they get to the scene where they're going to try and rescue Joey, when he's over that hell pit in this mix of a boiler room and a descent cavern, if you will, right? It's also gritty, but when you pay attention to the details at the periphery, it's super basic. And those rock-like formations kind of degenerate to walls.
Yeah.
And, it's like you can almost see exactly where the set begins and ends. And no way a negative criticism of this. We watch this multiple times before we do this podcast, and we think about it. And Mark has given me a better eye. But it's super cheap. Super cheap. And they talked about it a lot in the making of this. How many things? Well, you go, because you saw more stuff than I did. But all the things that they wanted to do that they couldn't. All the scenes they had to cut, entire sets. Please go.
Because this is why the guy sat there and went, effects got everything. And so the effects of this movie got the budget. And that makes sense because the Freddy worm takes forever to film. The marionette Freddy, the special effects, the glass room, the hellscapes, the smoke, the various gags in this movie. Those got the money. And when they say that they got the money, it's just that process, John, is so tedious, man.
It's more the time than the materials, right?
Exactly. And you got to build it all. But then on set, you can't rush it. And some of it's stop motion. Some of it's this. Some of it's that. We got to do it once to get it right because this puppet's $50,000. So you are working at a snail's pace, which means a dialogue scene could take a day to film. But some of these bloody scenes take a week just because of the technology at the time. And that's where the real expense come in. It's just the time taken. But I think that's smart because the TV kill in this movie,
legendary. That's a major favorite. Yeah.
I mean, that's great. The marionette, that's brutal. And they show the feet. They show the goop flying out of the guy's, or the bands flying out from him. I love the hellscapes that they have. Even the nurse, they said that they had to this was a little creepy, but they're like, we had to look at hundreds of ladies and we found the perfect one. That's a little creepy. But
so I heard in an interview, part of the difficulty in choosing someone was 1, the willingness of the actress, and 2, the credibility of the actress to the casting director, because she had to act while naked.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And the other thing is that, and I don't remember if I saw this in Never Sleep Again or in my Blu-rays special features, but originally she turns into Freddy, right? She tongue tethers him to the bed, Joey, and then she steps off screen. You still see her arm though, her lady arm, and you hear Freddy's voice start to laugh, and then you see Freddy. But originally they were going to have her naked, with topless, with the Freddy head. And they realized, this isn't going to work because, the mouth isn't going to move right. And she's going to be mouthing things or it'll just cut to Freddy's face. And it's not going to – and it also just seemed, weirdly perverse even for how mean they wanted to make the movie. But they said that a big part of it was her. And she was interviewed at one point and she was addressing that. They said, you're going to have this many lines after we see your breasts. Yeah, and that even scared off some women who just wanted to make money.
Yeah, so they had to find an actress to do this. It really but I just all right. So the effects, just the way they had to vacuum seal Freddy's head and slam Jennifer's head into the TV, and the one line that Englund was able to improv. Wait, Englund added the bitch, did he not?
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Yeah, and he added that. I just had to do. I was preparing a video for Rotten Tomatoes about Rick and Morty, and there's a character on Rick and Morty that just yells "bitch" the whole time and chases people, and he's a Freddy knockoff. It's kind of funny. I get it now.
Yeah, Scary Terry.
Yeah, Scary Terry.
I actually, I've seen that, and I really like how they addressed that. By the way,
It's funny.
Ironically, humanized the character too.
It makes me laugh, and I also liked in Never Sleep Alone when they were talking to the director Chuck Russell, who went on to make some good movies. I mean, The Mask, The Blob. He made some fun flicks.
The Blob is well, okay. One day we're potting about.
No, absolutely,
that,
I'll do it.
Sorry, but
absolutely.
that is amazing.
I'm in, and but Chuck, they were talking to him, and they were on their 21st hour on set, and the guy said, "What do you think a director is?" The producer asked him this, and Chuck goes, "The director is the last man standing." And I don't know if that's a great philosophy to have or a detrimental philosophy, because it seemed like a lot of the cast didn't know how to talk to Chuck, he didn't know how to talk to them. But that same issue happened on Mad Max Fury Road. I think Chuck was so consumed with just getting the shots and getting the effects. And I mean,
Chuck Russell
on
Chuck Fury Road?
No. But so I'm sorry. On Mad Max Fury Road, they just released an oral history about the movie, and in that oral history, Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy, they had a lot of fighting on set, but they're also in Namibia for 9 months and in a car together in the heat for 9 months. Anybody would fight in that situation. But the director, George Miller, said that he was more preoccupied with the stunts and the safety of his stunt crew and the shots, and he didn't put enough thought into the actors who were basically waiting for his direction, because a lot of the movie was storyboarded, and a lot of their shots are 3 to 4 seconds. So they're in this car wondering what's going on, and George is justifiably worried about the gags that are going in the background, the polecats, all that. And so he said later on that maybe he could have spent more time with the actors, but he was just so preoccupied with the safety of all the stunts. So he said that. And Chuck Russell on this one, he had done stuff before. This guy had pressure on him. These gags that they did were pretty ahead of their time in 84. I mean, these are, 87. In 87, these gags are pretty advanced. And so I bet you his brain every day, all day was just getting the gags done. Just getting it done right. And I guess that's the stress he felt. But that's pretty crazy, man, that his mindset on this movie was, I'm the last man standing.
Yeah, it seems like an interesting admixture, and I'm not going to call it 50-50 or say what the proportions are, of maybe a little embittered martyrdom with dedication.
Yeah, there it is.
You started out dedicated, and as this stressful filming progressed, if you are the last man standing periodically, it's like people, even it could be a study group working on a class project. If you're the last one working and or the first one there, sometimes you come to resent the people who don't put as much into it. Or you simply feel like you're the glue that keeps this together.
Yeah.
And when you don't have a lot of experience, I can readily see that becoming that, even if you don't continue to think that later in your own personal developmental timeline, it's tough.
It's interesting. I can't speak for any of these films because obviously I didn't work on this in 87 or Mad Max Fury Road in Namibia. You've been there, by the way. You saw where they filmed. But I did appreciate when I was working on film sets. So there'd be directors who show up late and then they want to get out early and they just leave. But then you get some directors who are the first ones there and then they're the last ones out. And so even if they're trying to figure things out, at least they're there trying to be the last man standing, maybe because of their inexperience, he or she. But when this first AD, or I worked with the first AD, she was awesome. She was the first one in, last one out, and she reunited the crew no matter who the director was. So I guess it's good that Chuck Russell had this embittered martyrdom to be the last one. I like that word. I can see you being like that. But listen, all this hard work that they did, it paid off. I mean, Kincaid's in every top 10 list of favorite characters. Taryn's in every top 10 list. Kristen, people love Patricia Arquette in this movie. I mean, people dig, and Nancy, I liked Heather. What's interesting too is the three best. According to IMDb and to the tomato meter, the three best are Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors, and what's the last one? The New Nightmare. Wes Craven's The New Nightmare.
Oh yeah, that was like 97, I think, right?
Or 94? Yeah. And then Langenkamp and Saxon are in all three of those. And then the Halloween's with the highest ratings are Halloween, Halloween H2O, and the latest Halloween. We're just talking about Tomato Meter and IMDb averages. And those all have Jamie Lee Curtis. So it's interesting how Heather and Jamie, or, you know, their characters, Laurie Strode and Nancy Thompson, those are the most popular. But I like her character in this, too. She's just there to help, which I dig. I mean, she's there to, I don't know. It's a good, yeah, it's a weird movie, man. I don't know.
So I'd like to get into some of the visuals.
Yeah, let's do it.
Like, some of my favorite visuals pertain specifically to Philip. Because I loved, and let me tell you, I have a problem with needles and cuts. And I don't mean any cut, like a sword cut, but like little cuts. And so even though it wasn't a little cut, it was like indicative of one. When Freddy sliced his wrists and his legs, and you see how far up his leg goes, right? It's almost like if you saw like surgery on the Learning Channel about how high up your thigh they go to get an artery for a bypass surgery, right? Like it's way up his leg. And then when he lifts him up and you see him elevated and you see those bloody tendon/artery messes pulling at his feet and and the way he held his wrist was, I mean, it was wonderful. You could see he was getting tugged and it looked uncomfortable. Like, but I was wincing. I have such a problem with those scenes, but I don't take my eyes off. But that and the claymation, I love claymation all the time, especially in these old horror movies. And so, like, I loved that. And what was really cool, you mentioned New Nightmare a moment ago, Mark, is that in this movie there are two scenes where claws come out of hand analogs. Just like Freddy's hand had claws in New Nightmare. There was the sink in the beginning where the one sink hand grabbed her hand and the other sink hand grew claws.
Oh, that was so cool.
But it's just like a sink hand, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, cool. Maybe that's his glove. But then later when it's Freddy, the clay puppet, he drops and through his fingertips emerge the claws. There's no semblance whatsoever of a glove. It's just his hand grew claws.
That's so cool.
And so in two cases in this movie, or one if you want to be really critical about it, we see this come up, how cool that would be. And I still remember Wes Craven interviews from ages ago about how he thought it would be so interesting and different if the claw was just a part of him now.
Yeah. Oh, man, I dug it. I love, like, man, that sink scene was cool, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. And you know what was cool? When the hand started to, the first hand that grabs her hand, the faucet handle that grabs her when she grabs it and just clutches its hand. As she tries to lift her hand and it comes up and you see kind of like whatever, it looks like some kind of piping, if you will. But why would there be that to a faucet? But as you go deeper, you see there's two strands of this piping, and then they kind of constrict at what would be an elbow joint. So it's like the two bones of an arm bone. You only see it for a second. But whoever put these visuals together, they weren't just doing it to do it. They cared and thought about what it looked like, and that's really cool. They gave it anatomy.
Do you want to hear something cool about the guys who worked? So Greg Cannon, it's Cannon, Cannon, he did a lot of the special effects makeup on this. But he went on to work on The Lost Boys, right? And then he did Cyborg, which is amazing. He did Dick Tracy, Exorcist 3. He would move on to like Highlander movies, but then just as we keep going, Alien 3, Batman Returns. He did Bram Stoker's Dracula. He went on to that.
What do you do there?
Let's see.
He was just a part of the general,
he did
like,
special makeup effects. So special makeup effects. So whenever there's a cut or a bleed or prosthetics, he would come put those on. Then he went and did The Mask, which he worked with the director again of this. Yeah, Jim Carrey, The Mask. He did Mrs. Doubtfire. Then he went and did, let's see, Titanic. He did Old Rose on that. Then he moved on to Blade, Idle Hands. And then he did Blessed Child, which the same director did from this one, too. Man, he worked with him a lot. That's cool. The same crew. And then Bulletproof Month, which I love.
Wait, Chuck Russell did Bless the Child?
Yeah.
I gotta see that again now.
And then he went and did Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. And this guy, right, he has 4 Academy Award wins. This dude did The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. He did Watchmen.
Wins?
Yeah, he has 4 Academy Award. He's won 4 Oscars from this. So he won for Vice, he won for Curious Case of Benjamin Button, He won for the development of modified silicone material for makeup application. He won a technical achievement, and then he also won for Mrs. Doubtfire, and he won for Dracula.
This guy's all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, this dude is just the best in the makeup business. And he was one of the guys who, I mean, he had been working from the 70s, but I bet you this movie really helped him cut his teeth sort of in the industry. I mean, so there are people on this movie that are just big business, and I really dug that about it. I mean, the guys that, let's see, who else? Let's see, who is this? I had this thing here. Let's see, a special effects coordinator. I mean, you have people like Robin Darcy, who went and did Fight Club, Alexander, Social Network, Curious Case of Benjamin Button. They do all the stuff on Mindhunter, Deadpool, Furious 7. I mean, big names. So if you look through the IMDb page of this movie, it's a who's who of just really badass special effects. And these people went on to do some huge stuff, which I dig. But I don't know, if you ever want to have a cool read, just go through and look through there.
An amusing, I won't call it a theme, but an amusing thing about another movie that we did in the podcast. So there are these award winners behind this. I feel like a lot of people view this movie as a typical Freddy sequel. They just think that maybe it's, the better one of them. But even I thought that. I thought it was the best one. I never thought as deeply as we've been discussing today. I never had the deep notions we're discussing today, even as inklings, by the way, even though I've seen this movie dozens of times from start to finish, no joke. But again, sometimes we watch things as we originally saw them. We get caught up in that, right? Mm-hmm. But this movie is much more mean and yet still justified in being so mean, as we discussed earlier, than most people really realize.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
There are award winners behind it, and the writing is really surprisingly good when you think about it.
Frank Darabont.
Right. But when you like a movie, you don't realize the characters are written well. You just notice when they're written poorly, a lot of people, Mm-hmm. So we had discussed Jennifer's Body, a movie that most people thought was misogynistic, clearly some guy's like wet dream for Meg Fox. And then we find out, hold on, Karen Kusama, director, woman, Diablo Cody, Oscar-winning screenwriting woman. And then they're talking about their scenes. And when we rediscussed it and rewatched it, and it's like, wow, like mind kind of blown. I feel like this is it's like an analogous kind of mind blown, mm-hmm. where people just don't realize what's staring them right in the face because we're so used to watching a Freddy movie a certain way. We're so used to watching a movie with a sexually predatory succubus a certain way.
Like a species. That's what people...
Right. Yes.
I bet you that was on people's minds.
That or any other movie that falls in that ballpark.
Yeah,
right? But
that's
a really good pick for that, though. Yeah. No, it makes me feel good that it's fun, disclaimer, we've said it before. It's like we're two cis hetero white dudes. But like I'm tickled pink when we come across this stuff. Whether or not it's our own discovery or not is beside the point. But just I love that we love this. I love that I've got someone to talk to about this.
There's a lot there. And hey, before we go on break, I do have a deep question to ask you. Ooh. Which movie had the better front kick as forward kick? Dream Warriors or Jennifer's Body?
Jennifer's Body.
Yeah,
it's hands down Jennifer's Body. It's hands down Jennifer's Body.
Pulverized that lady Amanda Seyfried.
That poor woman lost a tooth. Just discussing toastums.
All right, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will talk more Dream Warriors. How's that sound?
Solid.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And before I forget, I just got to tell you, Peter Chesney was and I almost forgot. That's why I'm really glad you told. He was the mechanical special effects coordinator on this movie. He moved on to work on, he started doing Raised in Arizona. Then he did Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure with a bunch of movies in between. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But then he started going to Miller's Crossing, People Under the Stairs, which looks amazing. He did Pet Sematary 2, Waterworld, and then he got in with all of the, the Coen brothers. So he started doing Hudsucker Proxy, Big Lebowski. He did The Truman Show, Oh Brother, We're Out There, The Man Who Wasn't There, The Lady Killers, No Country for Old Men. I mean, Ain't Them Bodies Saints? So this dude who did the special effects, he did Vice and Mother, the Darren Aronofsky movie. the people, I would love to hear about their journeys. Obviously, they had careers before this movie, because this movie made a lot of money. It was $111 million. It had a decent amount of money. Well, no, it didn't have a decent amount of money. They complained about that. But I would love to hear some of these people talking about their huge rise after this film. Because some who's on here. Frank Darabont's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And Chuck Russell kept working. He did good work. So
again, it was a year later they did The Blob.
Yeah, and that's a fun movie. What a good remake. That's another fresh remake. People dig that film.
Oh, tremendous. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's almost like the Jeff Goldblum The Fly or the 1982 The Thing, where people don't realize that those are the remakes.
Yeah.
Or the 1978 Body Snatchers. Like, people don't realize that that's not the original because it's so awesome. I like the original more. It's like, no, dude, you saw a remake.
Can I do something cruel to you?
Uh-oh. You're going to draft me. You're going to make me draft something.
Yes.
All right, what am I doing?
All right. So, we are going to do, so on Movies, Films, and Flicks Facebook, we do drafts. We do fun drafts. And you can go to Movies, Films, and Flicks Facebook and vote for it the day of or the day after that this podcast is released. And this one is going to be the best horror sequels draft.
Oh, curse you.
Right? And since I gave you this is a tough one, John, so I'm going to let you have the first pick.
I'm taking this.
Oh, hey. So
Oh, yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get for that.
Nose 3.
You're being mean as Freddy and no, he's 3. So that's what I'm taking.
I'm going to do Scream 2.
That's a good one, dude.
So I've written articles about this before, and I think Dream Warrior stands up to it, but I got to give the best pure horror sequel to Scream 2, and just simply because, and I give it extra points because it came out a year after Scream, which horror sequels that come out a year later are rarely good. And then you have the fact that script leaks had them rewriting on set, so they had to change everything up. And I still think it's a very effective horror sequel. So yeah, I'm going to go Scream 2.
I want Friday the 13th Part 6, the introduction to Undead Jason.
You know, that's the second highest rated one.
Well, now people like it even more.
Ooh. Now, John, can I do something that will make you furious at me? What do you think?
Okay. I don't want to say out loud one of the two things that I think you're going to pick, because I don't want you to give it to you if you didn't think of it.
All right. Okay. It should feature the same characters, right?
What are you talking about?
All right. I'm just going to say.
No, whatever. If it's a part 2 or part 3,
I'm going to say Final Destination 5.
You son of a bitch! I hope Tony Todd comes and gives you the death talk of your life. That was my next pick. I was afraid to say that when you asked me.
I love it. I knew that was going to get you.
All right, I'm taking Return of the Living Dead 3. People love that thing, and I love that thing.
All right, so Return of the Living Dead 3. I knew it, man. All right, let's see. This is tough because there are many. I'm tempted to just say Scream 3 because I love Parker Posey in that movie. I think she's hilarious. Scream 2. Oh man. All right, let's see. Oh, Dream Warriors is rated very highly. Let's see. Oh, this is easy for me. 28 Weeks Later.
Okay.
I love that. You want to talk about a mean movie? That's one of the meanest sequels you'll ever see.
I'm gonna go Jason X.
Yes.
I feel like Jason X is simultaneously one of the most loved and one of the most hated Jason sequels.
I love Jason X. Oh my gosh, what a great pick. All right, so I gotta go.
All right, I have my next pick, and if you pick it, I'm gonna scream at you.
I gotta do Halloween H2O.
Oh my God.
I love that movie, man.
You take it. You take it.
You know how much I love H2O.
I love it too. I remember, actually, what was it? A while ago, I had watched that earlier this year or late last year. We were talking about it, and then it's like, we need to pod about that.
Yeah, we do. Let's do it. I'm in. All right.
Is it my pick?
Yep,
my turn?
you're up.
Evil Dead 2.
Oh, that's a ringer. I'm done.
I actually should have picked that before Jason X.
I was trying to be nice.
But I was on the Jason train.
All right, so then, oh man. So you brought it. That's the big guns. I was staying away from the big guns.
Oh, you big gun it, man. You beat Terry Crews in The Expendables.
Okay, well, all right. So is
Hail Caesar.
Is Aliens a horror movie? Is Dawn of the Dead a sequel?
Both of them are sequels.
Oh man,
and
dude.
Both of them are horror. You can absolutely pick either of them.
That's evil.
No, absolutely not. I do not think so. Dawn of the Dead. The thing with Aliens is that sometimes that can work against you.
Yeah, that's an action movie, right?
But I agree. I think that is a legitimate choice for a horror sequel, but that can work against you in a draft. But Dawn of the Dead. I was on the Jason train. What I should have done was picked Evil Dead 2 and then Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I was trying to play nice, but
no. I started with Noe's 3.
Yeah, that's tough. So you got Noe's 3, you have Friday the 13th Part 6, you have Return of the Living Dead 3, Jason X, which I love, and Evil Dead 2. I have Scream 2, Final Destination 5, 28 Weeks Later, Halloween H2O, and Dawn of the Dead. Holy mackerel.
So you know what's funny? A lot of times when there's a draft, and Mark likes joking about it, how I have so much difficulty casting a vote. I usually don't vote on these things. I just express how pissed I am that I can't vote. Like I'm too torn. Like this, I am so grateful that I am not a voter. I'm not even put in a position to think about it. Like this would tear me up, having to pick from these.
What if I made you rank Noe's 3, Friday the 13th Part 6, Scream 2, let's see, Return of the Living Dead 3, and Final Destination 5. Where would you go with that, John?
Okay, you said Noe's 3, Friday the 13th Part 6, Scream 2.
Return of the Living Dead 3, and Final Destination 5.
Okay, I actually think I have this.
Oh, no, that's too easy.
I honestly think I wrote it down in the... No, again, this is sometimes... We've talked about this, though. Like, if you ask me next week, it might be different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're going with what's in my head right now. So, okay, all right. Okay, I'm going to go Noe's 3. This might be a shocker for someone. Final Destination 5.
I knew it. I knew you were going to do it.
Okay, all right. Final Destination 5. Now, this is actually my most conflicted pairing. I'm going to go these next two. I'm going to go Return of the Living Dead 3, then Friday the 13th 6. And it's not like I don't love Scream 2, but Scream 2 for me is at the bottom. Because Scream was amazing, and Scream 2 was amazing. So when Scream 2 came around, no matter what it added to Scream, it didn't add proportionally as much to give me that wow factor.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Noe's 3 after Noe's 2, wow. I'm not saying that Noe's 2 isn't a very impressive film, right? It's just not as fun to watch over and over again.
And this is a short
Final Destination 5 compared to any of its predecessors. Wow. Return of the Living Dead 3 compared to 2 was a wash. Sorry. And as much as 1 was awesome. Friday the 13th Part 6, finally, zombie Jason. Most people our age think that Jason was always a zombie. It's like Jason wasn't even always a dude. It was his mom, And then, but Scream 2, I'm comfortably putting at bottom because, again, it proportionally added the least. That doesn't make it a lesser movie. This is just the way that I'm choosing to rank them today.
And you know what's interesting about your 1 and 2 picks is that they have very likable characters.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean that's so we talk about that so much, and I'm not trying to criticize any other podcast, but I feel like just in movie watching culture in general, again, people tend to not notice as much when the characters are great and not realize the value added.
Mm-hmm.
So when I notice that characters are great, I see it and I want to jump into that wave and ride it.
Yeah, and listen to our Final Destination series and our racing series and our Resident Evil series.
Yeah, by the time this drops, we might have the whole racing series out, right?
We just have 1 left. All right, so,
but it'll drop before this probably. So really, they're all probably out.
Yeah, check them out. They'll all be out. So listen to the racing series. We had a lot of fun with that. And also, too, I do like some of the added humor in this. And I like some of the cheekier lines. So in the beginning when Kristen has her... This isn't funny, but when she has a wrist slit, she just does a cheeky feint. I love a cheeky feint. I like when Taryn says, "I'm beautiful and bad." I love that.
And that was her.
Yeah, I love that line reading to her. And
she came up with that second line.
It makes me so beautiful and bad. And I mean, and also Kincaid, just the crap that he talks to Freddy is. I love this how he runs his mouth off to Freddy. It just makes me happy. And I dug that he survived too this film. And it just there's added humor, there's some good gore, likable characters. There's we haven't really tackled the whole Freddy's mom coming as a ghost and talking to the doctor. You always know she's a ghost. She would not be on top of a clock tower that's locked. So you get this vibe about her, and then you have to put his body on sacred grounds. And some people have complained about this movie, saying that it's like the most Catholic or the most religious of the Freddy movies.
It absolutely is, yeah.
Yeah, but I also think we're also in a world of a paranormal entity who can enter your dreams and is somewhat of a demon. So I don't think the jump to kind of faith and Catholicism is that much of a jump in regards to religion, because you've already opened up the otherworld demon type vibe.
Well, Freddy was never properly canonized as anything before this movie, right?
That's true, yeah.
He was some kind of boogeyman / fiend / evil ghost / some kind of malevolent entity in the first two movies. And that was it. You'd call him, it was interchangeable, whatever you called him. It didn't matter. And this, we're addressing the fact that essentially he's infernal. In some way, shape, or form, right? That he has at least been brought back as something infernal or demonic, and or empowered with evil. He literally uses souls to gain power.
Yeah.
Right? This is as biblically evil as something could get. This sounds like a satanic or Luciferian race to get souls in a way, to achieve some unspoken victory. So if you're going to complain about throwing in this nun who happens to be his mother, who's a ghost, who's throwing in this hallowed ground. And of course, the psychiatrist took it all upon himself to go get a cross and go get holy water to make hallowed some ground, right? He was improvising, if you will. But yeah, like I understand people's criticism, but I don't feel it's actually a real leap on the part of the writers when they're revealing these more, again, specifically demonic things. He's not just a paranormal ghost. He's not just some dream something. He thrives on souls. Once you thrive on souls, I think we've made it about good and evil.
He becomes Shang Tsung.
You become Shang Tsung, which I just watched recently again.
Me too.
Yeah, you become. I watched that on Independence Day because the world was trying to fight for their independence from Outworld.
I watched it yesterday.
Oh, you did too. So, yeah, I saw it on the 4th though. I saw that and I saw Independence Day. Those were my two Independence Day movies.
And I gotta tell you something funny. Megan loved it. She was like, this is cheeky and fun. She dug every second of it.
It is, isn't it, Christopher Lambert?
Billions will die.
Oh my God. It's so, I get that nowadays everyone's going to hate that a white guy is playing an Asian god, but whatever, it was funny at the time. And Christopher Lambert was very big.
I mean, I do like the final fight though. You have Robin Shao versus Shang Tsung headlining the final fight of the film. I mean, that was something pretty cool in '95. You had never seen just Robin Shao was the hero of that movie. So I really dug that. At least it went there. It kind of redeemed itself a little bit.
It's a very satisfying movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's hokey in the right parts. It's cheeky. It knows what it is. Goro gets punched in the balls.
We're gonna have to do that movie one day.
Oh no, we'll bring Megan on. Let's do it. I'm totally in.
We have to do all the movies. But no, so again, I didn't have a problem with it. But I don't think we knew she was a ghost the whole time, Mark, because when we saw her in the church tower, or not the church, I'm sorry, the abandoned wing tower of the psychiatric hospital, that is the 3rd of 4 times that we see her, and the 4th time is at the last funeral.
I guess the last, when you see her all the way up there, and then he has to bang a lock with a rock, which is a great shot.
Yeah.
I got it mixed up, I think.
But the first 2 times we see her, it's kind of like in passing, and it's at one of the earlier funerals, and like you'd wonder like, why the hell is she there? Oh, but she's giving us an exposition dump. But the weird thing though, and I'll give you this though, Mark, is that she seems to know way too much about Freddy for someone in passing.
Yeah, she knows a lot about Freddy and his tragic backstory.
Like if I saw that woman and she's telling me the level of detail, I'm just thinking.
Who is this lady? Who are you, lady? I mean, she helps, though. She tells him what's going on. This guy, Yeah, I never remember his name, the doctor, but he goes the extra effort to save these
Neil
kids.
something.
Yeah, and he battles a Ray Harryhausen skeleton that the director
Oh,
loved.
I love the skeleton. And the special effects people, they said in, I don't know if it was the documentary or the special features I saw, how they tried to give it Freddy's posture, and like they made it hunched over. It was tough to show with the technology at the time, but I like that they tried. I like that it was hunched over. I like that it skulked instead of sauntering or walking towards its victim. But I liked how it was crusty and burnt.
Yeah, charred. And how it was just a bag of bones, but then Freddy inhabited it, and then it became a walking bag of bones.
It just sprang into life.
New powers of Freddy, which I dug. And I mean, they took chances, man. They had marionettes in this. They had skeletons. They did different things in regards to his kills. And I know people have complained about his kill of Will. I'm rhyming today. Pop a lock with a rock. The kill of Will.
Dungeons and Dragons Will.
Yeah, the Dungeons and Dragons Will, where he blows up the gigantic chair that they said was incredibly unwieldy on set, and it looks like it. And does he say, you need to sit down? Like, Freddy taunts Will. But people have complained that Will just got stabbed in the chest. But to me, that's more demoralizing. He gets this victory of realizing his powers. He defeats the evil wheelchair that someone in Murderball would love, which that's one of my favorite documentaries ever. He blows it up, and he has this victory, and Freddy just picks him up in the air and kills him blasé-esque. I think that's more humiliating than a super-duper cool Freddy kill.
I see this kill both ways, right? Like, I see that seems visually anticlimactic. But he was using his magic. He seemed to be winning. He starts to come close. Why was he coming close? Does his magic work better when he's up close? He starts to run up close. He's got confidence. And that's when Freddy strikes. But I think this comes back to the Terran kill with the syringe fingers, is that Freddy was never really succumbing to the magic.
Yeah, never. He just was playing with him.
Right. This is Freddy's realm, and you have those powers, but it's almost like he's letting you have them, sort of, but maybe not totally. I don't know. Because when Kristen does her flips and like somersault drop kicks,
she has the best powers in this movie.
She somersault drop kicks Freddy in the chest.
It is amazing. And after watching Mortal Kombat with all the kicks to the chest.
And there's a somersault drop kick to the chest of Shang Tsung at the end.
Yes, there is. There's so many of them.
That was what left him on the ground. We're getting a lot of Mortal Kombat in here. But again, I feel like he in some way lets them have these powers, or maybe there are some rules that even he has to abide by, but he's knowledgeable about their powers, perhaps. So you still can get the upper hand on him, but he's got a deeper deck than you do.
There it is.
To play his hand.
He has a better bench. I mean, I don't think he knew that Will could blow up that chair. But I also think he let Will have his fun with his little, I don't know, force fingers.
With his magic from the elf prince, whatever.
That actor, though, he said that he got the character because he knew D&D. And you could tell he did. I mean, that kid owned it, and I loved it. Now, John.
I loved all the D&D moments in that movie.
What would your power be if you could be a dream warrior?
God.
The drop kick? The fish kick?
No. But you see, that's just what I do.
The bear hug?
I believe I already have that skill. Whether or not I do, Mark. I believe I have that skill. I think mine would be telekinesis.
Nice. Ooh, some telekinesis?
You know why? Because when I go do field work in the tropics to collect insects, I would use telekinesis to pull them from the canopies of the trees.
Man, mine would be... Could you do regeneration like Wolverine? So Freddy stabs
you?
If Freddy stabs you?
Oh, that would be so great for gym recovery. I should have picked that for my deadlifting.
You get stabbed by Freddy, and he's laughing. You're like, I'm fine.
That's right. You pull a Wolverine, you're just like, and
then... What you got, Freddy? He starts slicing everything off. It regrows like in Last Stand. That could work.
Right, like instantly.
Yeah.
Regrows like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then he pulls a Wolverine, just kicks me in the balls. Last Stand so bad. No, I mean, it brought in new... It kind of refreshed the franchise because, listen, after 1 and 2, where could you really go? Like, what could have made Freddy fresh after 1 and 2? I think they had to take a different direction. And I think they picked the right one. And it went to Gonzo territory in 4.
I still adore 4, by the way.
Oh man, the effects, jeez, and Rennie Harlan, come on now. But they had to go there, and it made them successful. The movies made money. It kind of revitalized the franchise, and I dug that about it. So I mean, I don't know, the good knife fights. A lot of like the cast went on to do really cool stuff, and and this movie went 2 times platinum with its soundtrack.
Oh, with Dokken?
Yeah, I mean that was a huge hit.
Warriors.
Remember that producer said the only thing she has on her wall is a platinum record from Dokken for this movie. This movie was a legit phenomena. I mean, Freddy went on to get a TV show in 88 to 90. I mean, this made the one-liners, and then it fed into 4 and 5 and 6. So, I mean, it did a good job. I mean, it basically rebooted the franchise a little bit.
You know, and speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, this Freddy movie is like the Lord of the Rings of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, right? You've got Amanda Kruger dropping in to bring you this sagely exposition that doesn't feel like an exposition dump, right? It's this sagely exposition. You have separate missions by different groups of the protagonists. As the kids are busy protecting each other as best they can, sometimes even in their own separate groups, you've got the adults getting Bones and Holy Water, and Nancy and Neil and Nancy's dad are all doing their own thing, right? And it's quest-like. Because Neil had to get relics. He had to get the Holy Water. He had to get the crucifix. They had to travel to a special land to destroy the ring.
Yes, they did.
They went to a the cars were lighting up. It's like they went to the center of the volcano to destroy the ring. And again, like there were more distinct rules in this. And this was like a party fantasy characters in a role-playing game. Not all of them had distinct roles, but Kincaid was like your big, strong barbarian. And Taryn was like our cool, like roguish fighter. And Philip was more like the bard storyteller, entertainer who would follow with a lyre and sing the stories. We literally had a wizard in the group who was the dungeon master in the game they played. And Nancy is like kind of this Gandalfian leader.
Whoa, been there, done that.
Kristen is more like your Frodo.
Wow, I see it all.
And by the way, just like the end of the second Lord of the Rings movie, our Gandalf, our Nancy, appears to die and then comes back to save them from something.
And she stabs Freddy with his own glove.
Dude, the Lord of the Rings of the Noes franchise.
Oh, that makes me happy. How happy are you right now?
I'm actually pretty pleased. I was jotting down notes as we were potting to put this together.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, I love that. and I love at the end too how it's Kincaid, it's Kristen, and it's Nancy joining together to kill. Well, and the Doctor joining together to kill him. And Kincaid does the pipe. Kristen does the spin kick.
And Joey. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Joey was out. Never mind.
Nancy does the rebar. And then the Doctor does the assist with the Holy Water. It's a full group effort. They have to, they can't Leroy Jenkins this. They got to work together as a team. And I dug that about it. I didn't even think about that. That's fun. This is a fun movie. This really is. And this is much better than I remembered it being. I think I just watched it as a Freddy movie back in the day, but now I was able to appreciate this.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And I also like, too, that I've been talking about this a lot, but there's movies like Back to the Future where everything comes back around. Marty sees a car, he gets that car. Marty has a guitar, he invents rock and roll. Marty skateboards, he gets a skateboard. Then you have Tremors. The cliff that Kevin Bacon's peeing on in the beginning is the cliff that the Tremors fly off of at the end. They introduce the pogo sticks. They introduce everything. The bullets, the Coke machine, everything they introduce. And then that all comes back into play. In this movie, you see the marionette on the guy's wall, so he goes after them with that. Taryn, you learn about her. You learn about Kincaid having like his issue. So all of their I don't know, Nancy comes back as a protector. She wants to help these kids, and she does it at the end by sacrificing herself. And all their traits come back to them. And I like that it's a tight script. It's not, things aren't introduced for nothing. And also, I mean, I like that they keep them in this stock hospital so that they're able to have money for the visual effect, the practical effects.
I don't think it hurt anything. I mean,
no,
I was
absolutely
perfectly
not.
content.
It's smart. It's
that.
very smart. Like, I don't have that much money. I know I don't have much money. So how can I keep kids in one location and then have really sweet practical effects? And they did it. Successfully. And that's smart. They handled this on every level. This movie's smart. I don't care. I dig it. I love this movie.
Yeah, the only strong criticism that I have read about this movie that is not linked to something which I will categorize as emotional criticism, right? Like, Freddy's, like, to avoid all that, right? Is that people didn't like that Freddy was able to jump from the dream world to reality when they were trying to bury him in hallowed ground. I have no problem with it. I don't. And it has nothing to do with part 2, because in part 2 he was coming to the real world. I'll ignore part 2 just like Wes Craven was. Not that I don't like the movie. He had just revealed, not minutes prior, that he had, the power from these souls. And whatever power he had at the beginning of this movie from his Noes and pre-death timeline, here he now had a few fresh souls. And maybe that was him cashing in his chip.
Oh, got stronger.
When he did that. Because some people also say, well, why didn't he kill the psychiatrist? But again, like we were talking about this in a recent podcast, I think, where I was bringing up, like, people see someone do something in a movie and they assume they can just do it at will all the time. But maybe it's strenuous. Maybe Gandalf's magic needs to be used sparingly for a reason. Maybe that's why he uses a sword against the Balrog after he tries to stab it off, right? Maybe so maybe Freddy had X amount of power that he could pull that off.
I mean, Luke could only force project for so long.
Right. And the Emperor turned old. He wasted away when he was trying to save his own life at one point in Revenge of the Sith. So, like, again, people have these powers, but it doesn't mean they can do it all the time or use it however they want. Maybe it's almost like he used that fuel from those souls to do what he did. And he literally, even though they show him going, like at the end, like some WrestleMania video game. But maybe that was really just the end of the time he was allotted with that power, and he was then, it's like against his will, he was pulled back to the dream world, and he literally just didn't have time to kill Dr. Neil.
And it makes narrative sense. I mean, every second that skeleton is on screen is more money, and maybe he just went into the skeleton because it's his skeleton. I mean, maybe there's maybe it was trapped in a trunk, and it didn't make sense to do it, but now he's able to cash some soul chips in, get in his skeleton to save his life.
Right.
I mean, maybe that's the only thing he can do it in. I guess the problem is people interpret each character differently. So when they do something that they don't want or understand, they hate it. But that's what the character did in the movie, so I rolled with it. I dug it.
Well, again, it's like if something happens in the movie, some people decide to do that for a reason. Try to err on the side of rationalizing why they did it instead of why you're pissed that they didn't.
I hate it. Well, any final thoughts about this flick before we get out of here?
Gosh, again, I said that this was the Lord of the Rings of the Noes franchise. This is like another Jennifer's Body kind of revelatory pod for us. We can dig our heels as deep as we want to into the Event Horizon and Bram Stoker's Dracula, some of our highlight episodes, right? They weren't changing the way we looked at the movies. They just made us look closer.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's Body and this one, I feel like, are the kinds of movies that when we start to put our critical hats on, make us better at viewing movies fairly.
My times watching Jennifer's Body and Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and then watching them again a decade later, 17 years later, completely changes the way you see them. It felt good, man. It felt good. It felt good to explore these movies because I had a mindset towards them, and now it's changed. I dig it. I'm a big fan of Nose 3.
It makes me want to pick out our cinematic pickaxe and dig to find more of these gems that historically most people overlook for their value.
I think this is going to be a big episode because I think it's going to be like a total recall in that critics loved it, audiences loved it, it made a lot of money, and it's still beloved by audiences. Generally. How's that sound? Generally beloved. Sure. So it's a weird movie that it's like a cult classic, but it was also a blockbuster. But then audiences and critics like it. It's an interesting mix. And I think it's going to do well for us, so I'm glad you suggested it.
And before we close, Mark, I mean, people might be wondering what happens to Kristen, Joey, and Kincaid, but they're going to be in the opening scenes of a movie that we'll be discussing in the near future, because we're doing the continuous storyline of Noe's 3, 4, and 5, which is the only continuous story arc in this franchise.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I love these series that we get on, because if we would have done all doing the entire Nightmare on Elm Street in a row, I would rather do 3, 4, and 5, because there's a continuous storyline. I dig it. We're not bouncing all over the place. Yeah. Well, this was fun, man. Thank you for suggesting this.
Sure. My pleasure.
So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for John, still fighting off Freddy Worm, loving good.
He's still on my toe.
This is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.